Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's show, time to tackle the Ninebark. I discovered this Ninebark at one of the big boxwood stores, just Home Depot. And when I was looking at a bunch of the Ninebarks up on the kind of discount table racks later in the season, I saw this great big trunk, and it just called to me. So I went ahead and got it. It's got a little bit of a bump here, kind of gives it some movement almost from the one side. It splits up here in the middle. I got this branch now growing on the inside of this curve here, which we'll most likely get rid of. But it's split into two, and it's been slowly ramifying. Trunk's been getting a little bit thicker, and I entertained the children with the old rope swing there. Been kind of fun. This is a pot that has water section, or two separate planting sections. I always put water in here. The birds like to sit here and drink some water. It's time to take this out of the pot. It hasn't been repotted since 2018, so this is 3 years in the making. And so we're going to take this apart and give it a new home and see what we can do with the Ninebark. So it has some interesting movement. This has a little bit of a scar down here, but it gives the tree some character. And this bark just gets all flaky and falls off. And I do know from experience that this is a tree that is very rickety once it hardens off. So even this branch that's not even pencil thick will snap if I put a wire on it and do too much bending. So it's a really clip and grow type bonsai tree. And it's all I've done so far with this one because my wiring wasn't successful. You have to get them when they're really thin in that first year's growth, like you would do with any kind of young whip, and kind of curve it into shape lightly and then let it harden off in that area, and you'll get some movement. So we've got some back budding here. It hasn't been a profusely back budding tree, but we're gonna hope for the best. So let's get it out of this pot. So again, I believe this has been about 3 years, according to my notes, since I repotted this last. There's always the chance, of course, that I didn't mark down my last repot, which would have been maybe last spring, but I'm pretty confident I did not do it last spring. So this is 3 years since it's been repotted. I'm seeing some roots that are going way out to the edge here. A lot of roots on this side of the pot. This is a tree that's a Minnesota hardy because it's a Ninebark shrub bush, but has that woody trunk, and I've grown it as a tree. I do keep it in my cold frame. It's been a thin pot. I didn't want to run the risk of creating damage, so it is been cold. It is cold frame protected every year. I'm gonna wiggle it on out of there. I am not going to put it back in the same pot. I'm ready to graduate to the next pot, whatever that is. Not too often do you take out a pot and you have a nice curved root section from the curve of that pot. I have some tubing on this wire because I didn't want to damage the tree, the roots that they were close by. So now let's see what we got. Well, this is going to probably start to drive me a little nuts, so let's do the ceremonial cut of the tire swing, stolen from the kids' Legos, by the way. And the branch isn't growing so much that it has a little rope scar there, so we're in good shape. So let's spread out these roots, get this soil all sifted out of here, and we'll see what we have to work with. little bit of a close-up for you here as we look at the root structure. And as you can see, the roots here growing and wrapping around that pot. But we have a really nice root down here, really nice big root down here. Got one growing up a little bit here. This one splits down to 2 down here. And there's splitting over here. There's a root that's really tiny in here. Yeah, right here, down a little bit lower. It'd be nice if that thickens up. And then but it curves up this way. We've got a root that goes down and it comes up and then back down, so we'll probably cut that one off. And this one was obviously cut back when I repotted this one. And so here's a peek right here. There's some roots clinging to it. There's a root right there. So this root here is the thick root here. We cut it and it's growing a root down there. So we can leave that to grow. Try not to damage that tip. And as we go to the back side, this side wasn't as strong. I got a root growing right there. This looks like it's died back. We'll go ahead and cut that one off. But this one is alive right here, very viable. So that'll thicken up there. So we'll have these big roots here, a root back over here, a couple in the front like I showed you, and this guy back over here. So not too bad of a root structure. I don't think I'll have to do any major root changes on this one. So there's some of the roots. So we're just going to tease out a few more of these rocks that are in here. There's not very many left. As you turn this around, this is all roots. Nice, thick root structure. Always super exciting when you go ahead and repot your trees in the spring. If you haven't seen it for 2 years or even more sometimes, you don't know what you're going to see. Is it going to be spindly and dying off? Maybe some root rot? Are you going to have nice radial roots? Are you having a couple areas you're going to have to fix? We got some super long ones here that of course we are just going to be cutting off without even much thought. We'll trim it down in a little bit. So that's pretty much all we got for roots. So I'm just going to give it a little trim right now. Just that basic go around once and trim it to get down to a little bit more consistent, balanced size. We have a lot of roots that are dangling down, but they're long, so they're coming from way underneath. So we'll definitely cut them shorter. And then when we lay it down in the pot, we want to make sure that. So I'm going to cut the ones from the very bottom and see what that gets rid of. You want any thick ones that are growing down. A couple rocks in there I just cut. So there we go. So now you can see a couple more holes and gaps in the roots when you spread it out. We'll spread this out like this in the pot. We're going to get it in a new flat pot so the roots are going to still be able to grow out instead of down. We want our roots to be well balanced, just like the tip of the tree, where we have all our ramification and branches growing spread out. We don't want to have a big clumpy side and then a really sparse side. So this is the sparsest side right here, oddly enough, with that thick root. But some of these are going to grow out hopefully here and continue to get thicker. It's just a little bit of soil left. Now here we have a crossing root right here. So this root right here is going down and coming underneath the tree. I don't want that. Yeah, that was underneath the tree. This can allow other roots here to spread off and ramify. This root right here is going down and over here, and then this keeps going that way, so I'm going to cut this one off. This one right here, because it was growing that way more. So you can see where this root structure now was weakest, right in here. Everything's growing that way because there was space to grow for sure. So keep in mind when you repot your tree for the first time in 2 or 3 years, this is the first time you have a chance to look at these roots and make some really important decisions. So part of me wants to take this complete one off right here because it's the highest root. It's got a little growth on it right now, so maybe I wait to see if it develops more and we just leave it alone. This might have been cut over here, so here's a good example of a root that's going super sky high right here. It's growing way up like that. So we have this Nibari here that's starting to form. It's going to be going to the soil this way, down and out, but then this goes straight up in the air. And look, it wasn't that much to cut off. So down here, it does the same thing. I'm going to cut that off. We want to promote down growth, not up growth, in our branches and in our roots. This guy even back here, it's growing straight up from something down there. We're going to cut that off. We're going to look for those kind of patterns throughout. So this is one right here that's growing up, out. There we go. Now the root will keep going that way. All right. This one right here goes down here and it grows up right here. We're going to cut it right there. I'm also going to cut this root here that's growing upwards. And this one grows curves way around over here. See if I can see what it does underneath there. Yeah, it's this big root right here. It grows down, around, and grows this way. I like the curvature if I ever expose these roots. I'm going to wait and hold off on that one. And all of these I can kind of spread out pretty well. This one grows more up, so I'm going to cut it off right there. This one grows more up. This one grows more up. So I'm looking at all these paths going down right here, and I'm cutting the roots that are growing up in the air. As skinny as they might be, as little as they might be, they're growing up. We want them to grow down and out, or more out, not down, sorry. There we go. As I continue to spin, there we go. So those roots were growing very, very well. We're going to be able to put this in a new pot, so let's investigate that. Here is the pot that it was in. I could put it back in there. There's plenty of room to grow, but I want to change it up, and I have a couple other ideas for other trees for this pot. So I have a couple of options here. I recently got rid of my spirea that was a two-parter. One died, I retransplanted the one. So I have this oval tree, or this oval pot, ceramic pot with a glaze. This tree fits in quite nicely. And the reason why I'm thinking about this blue pot is because of the blue and the little slight red here and this kind of dark brown here. You can see the bark of this one is super light. And then the leaves on this tree, when it's new and throughout the season, we go from greens to ambers and some beige colors in there and some reds. And the amber color is one of my favorite on this leaf, and it's just a really pretty tree, and I think it'll look really nice in this blue pot. So I think it's my #1 contender. And both sides could be up front. This one, the tree comes out and away from us. This way it goes more straight up and we can tilt it towards us. So I will keep that probably as the front. The downside of this as the front is this big old scar in the front. but it gives the tree character, and to me that's okay. And as you can see, the nabari and the surface roots that are starting to form are starting to thick up really nice. I like how this tree is developing. This isn't a really big back butter though, so I have to be careful. I'm not going to cut anything off until I see bud growth this spring. I might cut a couple of the tips off here today, and that's about it. I don't want to go too terribly far. But like on this branch right here, there's a back bud right there, right here and here. I could cut this one right here and probably be just fine. So, but I will go a little cautiously. This is a tree like, I had made mention of this in one of my other episodes about the Marquette grape. This tree looks like it's dead every spring. It looks like it's just dry as a bone and is gonna just die. And it comes back every year real nice. So I'm super excited to see what that's gonna do. Blue pot, #1 contender so far. So I have some plastic training pots. Would be a little bit of a downgrade from the ceramic I had in before, but I like the shallow round oval pots. And so there you go. There's just a nice size oval pot. Way too big, way too big. But this one, same size as that blue one, just a little wider. I kind of like that. And I like it for the depth, but this one has some depth and I'm loving this color. So those two. And then I also have a couple of round, deeper ovals. I don't know if this is too deep. This fits the root base perfectly right now. I'd have to trim it a little bit more. And then the roots will want to go down more. So I think it's just too small of a pot. Too small and deep for how thick my trunk is now. The trunk is a good solid inch plus thick. I think my decision is going to be blue all the way. And so when you see the update on this tree later on this year, I think you'll be able to see some really beautiful leaves that will really play well off of this ceramic pot. So we're going to use this pot right here. And it has some recycled soil in it already, but I'm going to get some fresh soil. Got my drainage screen, so I've got my wires in there to tie this down. This is a very lightweight tree, not a lot of real thick roots here, very thin on the outside. But I need 2 wires because one side would make it kind of floppy. So I'm going to go on both sides and try to protect the roots as best I can. Go under if I can, or place them low enough here on the outsides to get them going. One of the things I learned the most last year with my trees that perished was I had a lot of soot at the bottom of my pots from the lack of really well sifted soil. So don't be afraid to sift and double sift your soil with those fine particles. We're going to put some big soil in first. This is going to be that real good drain layer. There we go. So I got that drainage layer. We're going to see how high this sits up in the pot. I think we're good. I'm going to trim a little bit front to back so these roots have a few more fractions of inches or inches to grow on this back side and front side. And the rest I'm just going to leave alone. There we go. Okay, let's get a mound in there. Okay, let's look at the front of the pot here. I like the coloring and the pattern on this side, so this will be the front. And we are going to have this front side with the scar as the front. We're going to push it down into that mound. It's liking how it feels already. Can have it a little bit off to the left for right now. This is a stronger leader branch, which will fill this more negative side than this, which is growing more straight up. So I like it on the left side because of that reason. These are growing up. This one's growing a little bit out, bringing direction over there, filling up this void. This is where the rope swing was before. Don't know that I'll put it back on there without any water. There we go. Okay. So as I bring this over, we'll do a couple of hand ties first. Cut the extra off. turn it around, bring this one over here. Now this one has a root here that I do want to go under, right here. Just want it to go under that one. And behind and under to promote under this one so it doesn't damage that one. A couple of hand trims. I only have to cut off one side there. And right now, this is a heavy pot. I'm not going to lift it up like my plastic ones, but already it's pretty in place. I'm going to get this front side first. I want the front side first so it tilts forward more before it tilts back. Lift it up and twisting. It's good. It's below all this major root section right here. I can go back to this one now. And there, it's underneath, so that can be growing over the wire for right now. And this is pretty stable, not going anywhere. Let's take a peek at it. Strong, sturdy tree, looking really nice. I don't mind this bulge here because of this crack here. It makes a little movement of the tree. It's always been a fun trunk. It's not really terribly reverse taper. Just got kind of that little bulge there. It does give it some character so it's not stick straight. Lord knows we don't want stick straight trees. Unless it's a formal upright. We're going to come in here with our mix. A third pumice, a third lava rock, and a third akadama is my mix for almost all of my trees. I might put a little bit more lava rock in a tree for retaining more moisture. The lava rock, or the akadama rocks for moisture. I might put more like 25% lava rock, or excuse me, 25% akadama, and then your 30 and 30, 35 and 35 or so. Can't do the math fast when I'm doing my plucks here with my bamboo shoot, fake bamboo shoot. So these had thin roots, it had a thin bottom. They really were hugged up against that first layer of mound that I created, that mounded up soil. So this is right at that level where I probably put just a little bit too much soil in. And I say that because when I put some sphagnum moss on here, it's going to raise it up a little bit. So just ever so slightly taking some off here. One, I can get these roots exposed a little bit more. And as I was taking this pot out today, there was a lot of roots up at the top. It's because I did have sphagnum moss on this one, covering the tree, which holds in that moisture, but it really promotes that surface root growth. So you get more of those roots on top growing really nice. So there's our tree. Let's go get some water. It's the 7th of March today. It was a windy day, warmer but windy, so it didn't feel warmer. I was able to get all kinds of outdoor errands done, visit some family and friends, finishing the day with a couple of repots. And what I like about this tree right now, look at this root structure now. Boom, boom, and this one has boom, boom, and boom. I like the surface roots starting to show a little bit. Back on this backside, this right, this left, and then down here, these will hopefully get bigger. And I think that's the wire right there, that one. All right, so we're at that close point. So there's the front of the tree. Let's grab some of our sphagnum moss now. And we're gonna put some sphagnum moss on here. We're gonna get this thing started off on the right foot this year. Fresh soil. It's really sturdy in the... Oh look, a bird would love this guy right there. Yep. That'll be on the ground for him. So now I can put my sphagnum moss on the top here. And I'm gonna spray first. Now that it's not completely dry and gonna fly away, I can pack it down with some more heavier water. And I've given this thing so much water because I want it to run through the drain holes. Any sediment that was in there from this batch of soil will hopefully go right through. And the cleaner the water when we pick it up, the better. I've always liked this tree. Something about this tree. I'm going to try to get some more Ninebarks this year. I like this tree. But I've had a tough time finding a trunk that's matched this one since I've gone back and looked. So we're just going to wrap it up today with just a little bit of trimming because we wanted to encourage a little bit of back budding here. And we have some and we want more. As I mentioned before, there is a bud back here and there's this branch here and this branch here. There's a bud back here too. I'm going to go to there and there. This might be dieback, but we'll see. Back here with that branch right there, I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. I'm going to cut this one back here at this junction. See what happens from this root, or this bud rather. Let's see if it splits there. This might be some dieback right here, so we're going to go back down to that one. There's a bud back there. There's this bud there. I'm going to go this far. I am going to go this far on this one. That bud right there. There we go. This is the question mark. Right now it's growing in a little bit of an inlet, kind of in curve. It's not a huge curve and it splits to two here. I think I'm just going to leave it for this spring and I can always cut it off. There's the view from the back. Kind of has a nice interesting shape too, but it bends away from us. And here's the look from the front now. So if I get rid of this right here, I'd have two lollipop tops with a big gap in the middle, which would hopefully fill in. I do see a scar back here, so I cut one back there a couple years back. It's healing in nicely. Maybe something will reshoot up from there. But let's call it a day with the Ninebark. There we have it, everybody, another spring repot in the books, the Ninebark. Hey, thanks for joining me. Join me next time for an update on the Weeping Willow Peninsula. Yes, coming soon. Whatever happened to the Weeping Willow Peninsula? When I had those critters, we did the ground layer. An update on the next episode. Until then, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.